I stand squarely behind my decision. The truth is, this did unfold more quickly than we had anticipated. The likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely.
Good morning, PJ. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. You know, the days are getting shorter and the nights are getting cooler.
Yes, they are. And it's awfully hot. I don't have air conditioning, do you?
No. I just sweated through in June and July, and then
it's like 8 weeks.
Yeah, it is. It is. But you know, it's kind of, I love this time of year. It's just
me too.
A transitional. I mean, September here in Colorado is the best.
It's the month.
It is the month.
I mean, usually around the middle of the month we get snow up in the mountains.
Right. We had some snow a couple weeks ago.
On Cypress,
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome back to In My Right Mind, folks. This is Russ Andrews, as always, with the eloquent, silver-voiced, silver-throated PJ Jaycox.
Yes, I am.
Producer of this show. By the way, PJ and I were just talking about, PJ's got 40 years in radio, and I have about 12.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's professional. I did radio in high school.
Did you really?
Yeah,
that's
I did a show on a college station when I was 17, 18, and I did it in college. So
it's funny. I went to Clemson until they kindly asked me to leave. And while there, I got involved with the radio station. And I couldn't pass the little test you had to take.
Oh, you had to get a Class C license for the SEC. You had to know all of this engineering and electrical stuff.
And, you know, I studied for – I was only given the material the night before to study for it, and I didn't pass. And it's funny because, my instrument written test for flying –
right.
You know, I got 100 on that.
And you were an engineer.
Yeah, I got 100 on my boilers test. The first person in my college to get 100 on a Coast Guard test, these are complicated tests, in 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, I'm a pretty good studier, but I couldn't pass the damn FCC test.
Well, you know, I took that when I was in high school, so I could get the DJ job. And then when I moved to Aspen, they were looking for a couple of new DJs on this radio station. And, you know, most of them didn't have a Class C license.
KSPN?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so having the Class C license sort of put me right in there.
Yeah, good.
It was a fun job.
Yeah, right.
At the time.
Yeah. Anyway, folks, there's a lot going on. Today is the 27th of August. This is the day after we lost our first troops in Afghanistan in 18 months.
Yep.
We lost 13 of them yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
not to mention the 20 or so injuries. And then the 60 to 70 Afghanis that were killed, and how many injuries?
I haven't even heard a report on those numbers because they got scattered.
Now, PJ, you made a prediction back in February or March that Joe Biden would be gone by July 4th.
I'm pulling Halloween out now.
Yeah, you know, I mean, he looks so bad. He looks like everything. You know, all the mocking. We open up In My Right Mind with his bumbling, stumbling, rumbling, and fumbling, right? Every time. That's what we open up with. Mm-hmm. So if you've been listening to this podcast, you're not surprised at what's going on at all.
Right.
You're just horrified by it.
And if you listen to him talk yesterday, he could not get 4 syllables together in a row.
I mean,
and I'm watching this, and he's got this lost look on his face. And it's so sad.
I think that was his try at empathy.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but it's really sad to watch, and it's scary too because this is the guy that got more votes for president than anybody ever has.
Right.
Supposedly.
You know, to circle back on that, by the way, Donald Trump lost the election because he lost the court wars in the 6 to 8 weeks leading up to the elections.
Right.
So, in other words, so many of these blue states, half dozen at least, abrogated their own constitutions and their own state laws to circumvent election law procedures that they had set up for decades.
Yep.
And they willy-nilly decided to change laws without going through their legislature, and that, again, abrogated the constitutions of those states. And that's where Trump lost.
Well, yeah, but I believe he got more votes for president than anybody ever had. And Biden beat him by 7, 8, 9 million.
Right.
So, I mean, the Democrats do a really good job of get out the vote.
Yes, they do.
They do a very good job because I will
You know what they don't do a good job of, PJ?
Governing.
Running the damn country.
Yeah.
Running the damn country.
But this $5 trillion package that they're trying to put in, have you seen the stuff that's in there?
Oh, my gosh.
And
by the way, it's 32 tax hikes. We'll talk about this next week.
So you get certain populations coming across our border illegally, and they're going to be fully absorbed into the welfare system.
Right.
And these populations tend to have a lot of kids.
Yeah, yeah.
So if they have 5 or 6 kids, they're going to be getting a couple grand a month from the
stay home
federal
from
government just because they have the kids. Well, let's have another one.
Yeah,
that
of
works
course.
really well with the, what was it, the Welfare Reform Act of 1964.
Yeah, right. Well, with Clinton reversed all that in '95.
Yeah,
or so.
I mean, you just encouraged a dad not to be there,
Right.
And
well,
now
we've talked about that on a number of occasions.
We
PJ.
have.
You know, the problem with the welfare, the problem with inequality in the so-called black community is the fact that there isn't a father there. The implied message, the implied deal with Johnson's war on poverty was that the state could replace the father as head of household.
Yep.
And it obviously doesn't work.
You have people, they're continuing to hose the landlords by not making people pay their rent. He extended that into January now.
Well,
You've
illegally.
You have the $300 extra a week not to work. Do you know how many clients I have that have worn out their help wanted signs?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. They can't. They've had to rewrite
And
their
remember,
business
what is
model.
the Andrews maxim of economics? If you pay people to stay home from work,
They will.
they will.
Yeah.
I mean, Biden says no, that's not true. But now here's another thing, PJ. Every kid you have, you're getting about $300 a month now.
Yeah, it starts off I think at 4, and then it goes. As they get older, it goes down a little bit.
Right.
And so you're paying people to have kids. You're paying people not to work. You're encouraging people to squat in an unrented place. And so this whole $5 trillion package, they say 3.5,
It's
but
five.
I guess it's 5. It favors the young and the middle class, and it does nothing for the old people. Do you see that they're going to give somebody that's over 65 more money? No,
Right.
no,
Good
because
point.
that's not the voting block.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
They
It's not
want to
their voting block.
hook you with free pre-K,
Yeah.
free K, free community college, and money as long as you're in your childbearing years, and after that you're useless. You're out.
Now, by the way, PJ, something that goes overlooked in this discussion is that if you're not at work, you're not producing. You're not a part of the gross domestic product.
Yeah, where is the money going to come
And
from?
by
The,
the way,
rich and the corporations.
And here's the other issue: if you're being paid to stay home from work, you are buying goods you had no hand in producing.
Yes,
that
exactly.
is the primary. That's the first page in the recipe book for inflation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
And it, we've discussed that, but we've got a lot of other things.
Yeah, we
Let's
have a
get
ton of stuff to go
We got a
through, folks.
disclaimer we have
Yeah,
to
we
read
do.
here
We're
because
maturing.
Russ's employer makes me say this.
Yes.
So let's go. I haven't even pre-read it. This broadcast is intended for educational purposes only and does not constitute an investment advice or an offer to buy or sell any security or insurance product. All information provided here is for educational purposes only and does not constitute an investment, legal, or tax advice, an offer to buy or sell any security or insurance product, or an endorsement of a third party or any such third party's view. All examples are hypothetical and illustrative purposes only. Please contact us for assessment of your personal financial circumstances and to obtain personal investment advice. That would be Russ. You can email him, and there we go.
Email us.
Now
By the way, we're having a website thing. You know I am a website retard.
Oh,
You're not allowed to-
yeah, that's not our generation.
Well, so, but anyway, because here's what's happened, folks. I'm back on the radio with KNFO. That's a long story. But nonetheless, that's why we have to read this disclaimer, and I'm only allowed to have one website. So it has to go through Russ Andrews Investment Management. That's where you can now find In My Right Mind.
Okay.
Unless you can still find it wherever you got your podcast. But like when we do the show, I go home and I listen to it on my computer at inmyrightmind.us.
Oh, yeah.
That won't work anymore. Now it's got to be Russ Andrews Investment Management. And I guess there's some tab or will be where you can listen to the show.
Okay, well, we'll take care of the technical aspects and make it as easy as we can.
Now, PJ, do you remember back when this demented fool of a president of ours was formulating his cabinet?
Oh, yes.
Do you remember all the first?
Oh, diversity.
Diversity. He had 8 different cabinet members that were the very, very first of their kind.
Well, that's where you get the best and brightest, right?
The first ever woman, the first black woman, the first woman of South Asian descent as vice president, behind me on the screen. The first ever black Secretary of Defense. The first ever Latino head of the DHS, and the first ever Latino head of HHS. The first woman, I should say, of South Asian American descent to lead OMB, the first woman and Asian American to lead the United States Trade Representative as our lead United States Trade Representative, the first black woman to chair the President's Council on Economic Advisors, the first ever woman to hold Alexander Hamilton's position as Treasury Secretary. Our cabinet doesn't just have one first or just two of these first, but 8 precedent-busting appointments. And today, a 9th, the first ever openly gay nominee to lead the cabinet department, and one of the youngest cabinet members ever. The Biden-Harris cabinet will be an historic cabinet, a cabinet that looks like America, a cabinet that taps into the best of America, a cabinet that is opening doors and breaking down barriers and accessing the full range of talent. We have so much of it, the full range of talent in this nation.
Before I say this, let me get it straight so no troubled neoliberals out there can misconstrue what I'm about to say. I couldn't care less what your skin color is, what your gender is. I don't care who you sleep with, and I especially don't care what you look like. If you're naked, I could think of a couple exceptions to that.
Well, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
With that being said, hiring the first whatever it is, the first pregnant, transgender, bisexual, lesbian, the first purple person, the first Martian, the first cisgender pregnant man, the first donkey fornicator, the first whatever, versus hiring the most competent person or people to design and implement government policy is a policy that is doomed to failure. Now, PJ, I give you a doubling of gasoline prices in 7 months. You know, I used to fill my truck up, my F-150, I think it's 34 gallons. I used to fill that thing up for $60, $65. It's $122 now.
I know.
By the way, PJ...
And that's a tax on the poor.
Yes, it is.
The poorer you are, the bigger the tax.
Yeah. Now, PJ, I don't know if you know this, or anybody who lives here in the Valley, we all shop at City Market, I presume, right?
Yeah.
At the Carbondale gas station gives you credits. They give you as much as $1 off a gallon.
Yeah, yeah.
So I fill up down there exclusively.
Right. I went there the other day, and I think I got 30 cents.
Yeah, okay.
I have a smaller household.
Yeah. I give you chaos in the South with more than 200,000 illegal immigrants per month storming or overrunning our southern border, with as many as 10% infected with COVID. 10%.
14.6 was the number I heard about a week ago.
Gosh. And make no mistake in believing the border crisis is a bureaucratic failure, PJ, because it isn't. It is purposeful, as it will add power to the Dems. If you believe for a second that if 67% of illegals voted for Republicans, that border would be open, you're delusional.
There'd be a triple wall.
Oh, man. With,
armed guards.
Every 200 yards with an AR-15. I guarantee you that. I give you double and triple digit increases in crime and murder rates in our largest Democrat-run cities. I give you a lying, demented idiot with his first of their kind White House advisors, generals, and defense secretary who decided it was prudent to withdraw from Afghanistan all of our combat troops first, to hand over all of our equipment and our weapons and our ammunition to them, to hand over our forts and bases. And these are to our mortal enemy, PJ. Then and only then to rescue 15,000 American citizens and 50,000 Afghan allies who helped us for 20 years. Before you start on this, the State Department claims there's about 1,500 Americans left, right?
That they know of. They don't really know.
Right. Now let me show you how that's a lie. There's a woman, a congresswoman out of Florida named Kamek. I didn't catch her first name. I saw her on Stuart Varney's show this morning. How many congressional districts are there?
Oh gosh, counties. There must be 435.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
She represents obviously one district.
Mm-hmm.
She has 682 people in Afghanistan trying to get out. One district.
Okay.
One friggin' district.
So let's say the average is 400.
Let's just say it's 200.
And they're 435, 200.
Yeah,
that's
it's 10,000
people.
Right.
And that's just Americans.
Right.
And, can I go through
Absolutely.
this? All right,
BJ has a list of the stuff we left behind, people.
Yeah, okay, so you withdraw the troops. You leave. You close Bagram Air Base, which was one of the most secure bases in the planet.
By the way, it's $1 billion. I didn't know this, but it has it's the largest prison in Afghanistan. It has 7,000
It's empty
beds.
now.
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
And that's
and by the way, what they emptied were ISIS-K and Al Qaeda members.
And Al Qaeda, yeah.
Right, and those are the people who carried out the attack yesterday. ISIS-K, presumably.
So we all know what order it should have happened in. So the number is anywhere between $66 billion and $80 billion of very valuable stuff left behind.
Read it off.
Here's a list.
This is unbelievable.
2,000 armored vehicles, including Humvees and MRAPs. 76,000 total vehicles.
Whoa.
Yeah. Ford Rangers, F-350s, Ford vans, Toyota pickups, armored security vehicles, 46 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters.
Now, PJ, can you think of anybody in the world who might want to gain our technology from our Blackhawks, like in China or Russia or Syria or Iran?
The Taliban has more Black Hawk helicopters than 85% of the countries on the planet.
Now, here's the point with this, PJ.
Now, do they know how to fly them?
Right. 20% of the people there are literate. I guess
Right.
when our Army went in there, they said that they spent the most time training these people how to read and do math.
Okay.
Now,
they have a 7th century education level.
Right, yeah. 7th century. Not 4th grade math, but 7th century.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they have an abacus back then? I don't know.
I know the calendar blew away a long time ago.
Now, this is according to David Petraeus in last week's Wall Street Journal. Petraeus said that the annual budget to just functionally run Afghanistan is $18 billion. And that they have essentially $2 billion in recurring taxes. So they need $16 billion a year. Where do you think they're going to get their money the first year?
Selling this stuff to China?
They're damn right.
And the technology? Let me disclaimer this for a little bit, because I listened to a guy yesterday, and he made a good point. This stuff was pretty much left behind because we thought the Afghan army was going to be able to fight off the Taliban. We've
Only
been there for 20
delusional.
friggin' years.
Right.
Who the heck did not pick up on the fact that these guys in the Afghan army and security forces weren't going to drop weapons and run for the hills when the Taliban came rolling in? After 20 years, let me keep this list going. So we have 45 Blackhawks. We have 50 Scout attack choppers that we left with them.
Wow.
We have 30 military version Cessnas, 4 C-130s. Those are the big ones, right? 4 of them. 29 Brazilian-made 29 Super Tucano ground attack aircraft. 208 aircraft in total.
Wow.
At least 600,000 small arms. Sniper rifles, 50 calibers, grenade launchers, miniguns, 20 millimeter Gatling guns and ammunition, 61,000 M203 rounds, 20,000 grenades, howitzers, mortars with thousands of rounds, 162 pieces of encrypted military communications gear, 162,000. 16,000 night vision goggles, the newest technology with night vision scopes, thermoscopes, thermal mono goggles, 10,000 2 3/4 inch air-to-ground rockets.
Okay, now with that being said, and that's probably enough, there's a lot more. You going to put that on the website?
Yeah.
Okay. How would you like to be on the last plane out of there? I mean, there's no defense. They have all this equipment. They can blow that plane right out of the sky.
Well, the Taliban has it. It's the ISIS-K.
Well, whoever. To me, they're all the same. They're all donkey fornicators.
Yeah.
Or goat.
So I'll put this list on there. It's just amazing. There's pallets with millions of dollars in U.S. currency. Millions of rounds of ammunition. 20 million rounds of 7.62 and 9 million rounds of 50 caliber.
Wow, 9 million.
9 million rounds of 50 caliber. It's granted, we thought that the Afghans were going to be able to use this.
No, you and I didn't think that.
No.
Nobody asked me.
Did I say we? I meant they.
Yeah. They're delusional.
And let's figure out who they are. Let's continue on with the cabinet
here.
Well,
let's start with Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. He is completely incompetent. He's not incompetent because he's black. He simply doesn't have the fortitude nor the military IQ to hold the position, PJ. And you want to know who is black and would have made an excellent Secretary of Defense? Colin Powell.
He was already there.
Yeah, right. So any dim-wit advisor should have known that you don't trust your mortal enemy. Here's the problem, though, PJ. The Democrats don't look at the Taliban as a mortal enemy. No, they look at you and me
white
as
supremacists.
You and I, because we're white conservatives, they look at us as their mortal enemies.
Yeah.
So the Taliban, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I mean, literally to Joe Biden, he views the Taliban as his friends. He says he doesn't, but he does. Okay?
Well, the teleprompter says he doesn't.
Right.
The Taliban, as he likes to call it.
Taliban, yeah. Apparently, PJ, and I saw Trump on Sean Hannity last night. He was fantastic. And he outlined what he would have done, which is exactly the opposite of what Biden did. Apparently, Trump's plan looked like it was in the right order. But because it was Trump's plan, the walking woke firsters that advised this demented fool tossed Trump's plan in the trash. Again, PJ, orange man bad, elect president good, Joe. That's the depth of the logic.
Yep.
And I want to know now, PJ, do you think there's any buyer's remorse out there?
Oh, there is. It's been polled, and Biden's polling numbers have dipped down to almost 30%.
Have they?
Yesterday I heard 31, so the margin of error for these pollsters is about 30%, so it's basically zero.
Yeah. All right, PJ. Now, the Wall Street Journal reported a week ago today that embassy staffers in Kabul's, is that how you say it? Kabul. Whatever. Signed something called a dissent cable that was hand-delivered to Secretary of State Winken, Blinken, and Nod. And, I mean, what a this is another guy that, Biden doesn't need to be impeached. He needs to be court-martialed. And he needs to be put up in front of a firing squad. This guy needs to be impeached or needs to resign. Lloyd Austin needs to be impeached or resign. The general on the ground in Kabul yesterday who allowed the Taliban to run security for us that ended up getting 13 Americans needs to resign or be fired.
It'll be interesting to see whose heads roll.
None. This guy McKenzie, he's another one of these retarded generals. He needs to resign. Did you see the top non-commissioned officer, the sergeant major, the top sergeant major in the armed forces yesterday? What he came out with?
No.
Yesterday was Women's Equality Day.
Oh,
We're talking about
National Dog Day, too, I think. I don't know how that all happened.
Anyway, this guy says, during this attack, this idiot says, he was all talking about women's equality, not about what's going on in Afghanistan. Just amazing to me. Anyway, so Winken, Blinken, and Nod received this thing called a dissent cable. And what happened was the CIA spooks on the ground, these 23 embassy staffers, they're really not probably State Department, they're probably CIA, PJ, predicted this precise outcome of an immediate takeover of the country within days of our military surrender. The dissent cable process was created during Vietnam to allow for State Department, again, read CIA agents on the ground to anonymously inform political leaders that their policies were doomed to failure. Hence, 22 of 23 signatures, which gives any of the other 22 did sign it, the ability to say, to deny that they were one of the signatories. You got it?
Yeah.
So,
this is going on in June and July.
Yeah.
May,
yeah.
I think even May they started warning that this place is going to fall.
And NGOs were doing the same
ambassador
thing.
was telling people get out.
Yeah.
Back a month or two ago.
The signatories of the dissent channel cable urged the State Department to begin registering and collecting personal data in advance for all Afghans who qualify for special immigration visas or CIVs, aimed at those who worked as translators or interpreters. They're called TERPs, by the way, PJ. Okay. Local employed embassy staff, and for those eligible for other U.S. refugee programs, while there were still 6 weeks left before the withdrawal deadline. And please explain to me, PJ, how we have a president who just opens the doors. Literally, apparently there are gates on the border wall.
Yeah, but
he literally opened the friggin' gates.
As well as, that shallow part of the Rio Grande where you saw all the people walking across.
And it brings 212,000 people in with 14.6% having COVID, right?
Yep,
but we can't bring 50,000 friends of ours that helped us during this war. We can't bring them in. And by the way, Glenn Beck was on last night talking about how he's pulling Christians out of Afghanistan, people that have converted. Yeah. Apostates.
There are private citizens that are going over and helping in certain ways, and I don't know how they do it, but God bless them.
Well, Glenn Beck, he's pulled out 5,100 so far, and you know what he said the biggest obstacle is?
U.S. paperwork.
The State Department. What's worse than that? When they find out where he's going to be dropping people off, what country, our State Department calls those ambassadors and tells them to refuse the flights.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what we're dealing with here, people. Okay, The Atlantic, which, by the way, PJ, nobody will ever confuse with the New York Times, much less the Wall Street Journal.
No, maybe Mad Magazine.
Yeah. The Atlantic wrote that Biden's foreign policy record has a through line: the betrayal of people who have sided with the United States against its enemies and who, in the aftermath of American withdrawal, face a future of oppression, brutality, and death. And these betrayals of people in foreign lands seem to leave Biden unmoved. There's a troubling callousness to it all, said The Atlantic.
Wow. So
That's
it's
The
got to
Atlantic.
be 10 times worse.
Oh, right.
And can you imagine I don't even want to even pose it.
What?
What they will do to the people that they find that were sympathetic to the United States.
And by the way, the Americans, we're not getting every American out.
No.
They're going to be hostages.
Yeah,
And there'll be a beheading a day, a beheading a week. And, that won't be followed on NBC or CBS or ABC or any of the other nonsense. It will be on Fox News. It'll be in the Journal, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Examiner, the New York Post. But you know where it's really going to be?
Talk radio.
The Internet.
Oh, well, yeah.
And talk radio.
Yeah, if you can go to find the place on the Internet where they'll allow it to be published.
Right. PJ, he lied when he told us nobody in the military told him not to pull out. According to Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the very woke General Mark Milley. He lied when he told us Americans could safely travel to the airport. According to the even woker Lloyd Austin, this guy's got to go. Americans are being beaten in the street by the Taliban. The day after Biden told us Americans could safely travel to the airport, his own State Department told Americans to stay home. And by the way, they're still telling them that in Afghanistan. Don't come to the airport.
Right.
How are you going to get out? I mean, what is the Tooth Fairy going to bring you out? How's it
I guess. Maybe we could airlift him with an Amazon drone.
He lied when he said there was no Al-Qaeda nor ISIS in country. They occupy 15 of 34 provinces. And again, there were 7,000 of them let out of the Bagram prison. By the Taliban.
I'm going to have to go on and find out what's the difference between ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Hamas, Boko Haram.
Well, I know the difference between you know what? They're all banging the same goat. That's the difference. There is no difference.
Yeah, we're the goat.
Yeah, right. Well, now we are. Biden lied when he said our allies support his actions. No less than Prime Minister. These people are pissed. I mean, I wrote this 3 or 4 days ago. It's come out with more information.
Oh boy, yeah.
They are not happy. This guy has done more to break up NATO than they ever imagined Trump could do.
Oh, Trump was just killing us around the world.
Yeah.
Now what does the world think of us?
Anyway, Boris Johnson in Britain, Macron, the fruitcake in France, Angela Merkel, and this is from the EU minister, foreign minister. He claims he was not briefed on the pullout. The European Union foreign minister was not briefed on the pullout.
Who are over there? They have assets
their own people
there.
Yeah. By the way, people, we didn't prosecute this war on our own. It was a NATO plan. It was done by NATO. Now, were we the vast majority of the troops? Yeah, but there were Brits and German, and even French fruitcakes in there. By the way, my dog is French. Otto, the bloodhound.
Otto is a French.
No, but
he's German, I think.
No, but the breed is French.
Oh, okay.
Again, this guy should be court-martialed. He lied when he told us that nobody in our intelligence community predicted this chaos. Again, we just talked about that cable. He lied in July when he said this would not be a repeat of Saigon in 75. Yeah, you know what? He's right, actually.
Yeah, it's a lot worse.
A lot worse, right. Biden lied when he told Stephanopoulos we don't have any troops in Syria. We have 900. How do you, as the commander-in-chief, not know where your troops are deployed?
And he said nobody died, and then knocked on the side table.
Yeah.
I don't think, he said. He said, nobody's died, I don't think.
Yeah, jeez. He lied when he said we have trained and equipped an Afghan military force of 300,000 strong. That's not true, PJ. It's 182,000 plus 118,000 policemen. Okay? It's 182,000 troops. And again, they just bent over and dropped their trousers and...
Oh, yeah.
Said, take me.
Here's the gun. Don't shoot me.
Yeah, right. Biden lied when he said he inherited this treaty from Trump. He kind of did, but he trashed Trump's plan. And to say that he had to abide by Trump's treaty, well,
Trump's treaty said if they violate the treaty,
we're not getting out.
We're not getting out.
And by the way, Trump's treaty also kept Bagram Air Force Base. That was ours.
That was ours.
That was part of the deal. We get to stay in Bagram.
Right. But then when the president of Afghanistan got in a plane or a helicopter or whatever and flew away, all leadership was gone, all nationalism. We didn't know this. That's like, oh.
It's nauseating. But there's just a litany of some of the stuff that Biden overturned. Obviously terminated the Keystone XL pipeline his first day in office, unemploying 10,500 Americans.
And then turned around and approved the pipeline from Russia to Eastern Europe.
The Nord Stream pipeline.
Right. And I guess we're the only ones. The United States is what causes all the pollution in the world.
Of course.
It's got to be us.
We're the most evil country that ever
And
lived.
there's an ad on for some water bottle or something that'll save the planet because you're not going to be using the disposable plastic bottles, and everybody should feel warm and fuzzy about it. Our grocery stores here in the Rocky Mountains have banned plastic bags,
Right.
and because of all this plastic
because
floating
of
in the ocean,
the dolphins.
in the ocean,
We're 1,500 miles from the damned ocean.
95% of the ocean plastic, which is in the Pacific Ocean,
Yep.
comes from 7 rivers in Africa and Asia.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from
Less
plastic
than 1%
bags.
comes from America.
Right.
Right. Anyway, so again, to the point of what he has tossed out that was a Trump priority. He literally again opened the gates to Trump's border wall. He shut down drilling on all federal lands and is using the Endangered Species Act to shut down drilling on private lands.
Yep.
He rejoined the ridiculous Paris Climate Accord that presumably is going to keep temperatures from going up 0.03 degrees Celsius at a cost of at least $80 trillion. He rejoined that. He's negotiating with his fellow liars in Iran to reignite the Iranian nuclear accord, which codifies an Iranian nuclear bomb within 5 years. That'll be great. Biden overturned Trump's attempt to exclude undocumented immigrants during the 2020 census. He reaffirmed DACA. He scrapped the batch of Trump-era executive actions that restricted how federal agencies make... In other words, folks, that he says that he inherited this treaty and had to abide by it. He already broke it, by the way. Trump was going to get out during the winter when these people were back growing hoppies and fornicating their goats, PJ. And he's going to get out on May 1st. That's just the beginning of the fighting season. We're right in the middle of the fighting season right now.
Yeah. Well, and so let's see. Biden was beholden to that Trump agreement, but then he just did executive order and took out all the other things that Trump did because Orange Man bad. Orange Man bad.
Yep.
Why would he even follow that treaty?
Yeah.
Or agreement or whatever
Right.
it was?
And expect 3.5 more years of this crap, PJ. Again, Orange Man bad. Vote for President Good Joe. Great job, neoliberals, one and all. Our nation is now the laughing stock of the world, and if you're naive enough to believe it ends here, I got news for you. It's just getting started, PJ.
Well, you say 3.5 years. First of all, the midterms are coming up next year, and
Thank God.
even though we don't have the numbers to impeach him or
We don't right now.
treason him,
We will then.
We will then.
Yeah.
And if we can make it to November 2022,
Well, really, January 23. That's when the new Congress will be sworn.
right?
Anyway, the indoctrinated, walking woke Ivy League firsters, again, 8 first of their kinders in the cabinet, PJ, who majored in sapphic studies. You know what sapphic studies are?
Women's studies.
Lesbian studies.
Well,
And are now pulling the strings, are way in over their heads. Don't believe for a second that Putin and Xi, the Ayatollah, whoever the hell he is this week, and all the other bad actors on the planet haven't taken notice of the weakness, the naivety, the ignorance, the arrogance, and the absolute obtuseness of this administration. And again, we got 41 more months of it in some form. Again, PJ, you don't hire people because they're the first. You hire people because they're the best. And that's what this guy didn't do.
right. You can go look at there's the one that's the transsexual or something like that. I don't remember what she is, but it's the ugliest person you ever want to see. It looks like Don Rickles in a witch wig.
In a witch wig. All right, PJ, I got to do this. The left credits Uncle Joe with having massive foreign policy chops. But this is the guy, PJ, he voted against, one of his first votes was against the Alaska pipeline, right? Which has delivered 20 billion barrels of oil to the South. Now,
And it hasn't caused any environmental
Hell
problems,
no.
and it's
Not the
really
pipeline.
and it's really helped the Alaskan economy because
Absolutely.
everybody's getting a royalty.
and you
check.
realize the thing's dying now because it's only got about 30% of its flow.
Okay.
So if it gets really cold up there, it can literally freeze.
Yeah.
It's problematic. But the Atlantic, which again nobody confuses with the New York Times, much less the Wall Street Journal, wrote this: the Afghanistan pullout is the latest blunder in a foreign policy record filled with them. Talking about Biden.
Yep.
In 1975, Biden opposed giving aid to the South Vietnamese government during its war against the North, ensuring the victory of a brutal regime and causing a mass exodus of refugees. You and I are old enough to remember the boat people.
Yeah. Oh,
More than 100,000 refugees, climbed into boats. Biden said, "We don't have the moral obligation to help 100,001 Vietnamese, much less even one." That's what he said, PJ. In 1991, Biden opposed the first Gulf War, the good one.
Yeah.
Right? In 2003, he supported the Iraq War, the second one, the bad one. In 2007, he opposed George Bush's new counterinsurgency strategy, insurgent troops in Iraq, calling it a tragic mistake, when in fact the surge led to stunning progress, including dramatic drops in civilian deaths and sectarian violence. In 2011, President Barack Obama and Vice President Biden withdrew America's much scaled-down troop presence in Iraq, which gave us the JV team.
Yeah.
ISIS.
Right, the JV team.
The JV team.
Right.
According to Obama's memoir, A Promised Land, Biden, and here's where I'm going to say it, PJ. A Promised Land, Biden had advised the former president to take more time before launching the raid to kill Osama bin Laden. Obama was kind there. Biden advised him not to do it at all.
Yeah, he did, and that's well documented.
Yeah. 10 years ago, Biden said in an interview that the Taliban per se is not our enemy. The Taliban per se is not our enemy, PJ.
No, white supremacists are.
Right, you and I, because we're white and we're conservative,
Yeah.
that makes us white supremacists. Right?
Exactly. Right, the insurgents. By the way, that January 6th thing, the FBI came out and said there was no organized insurgency there. There was nobody armed, and there was no planning. It was just a spontaneous
The only person that was armed was
best.
that guy, the Bird, the officer who shot the little 5'2" girl.
Yeah. Well, the Capitol Police were all armed. I hear that some of the Capitol Police are now suing Donald Trump. I haven't looked too far into that one.
In his 2014 memoir, Memoirs of a Secretary at War, Robert Gates, who served as the Secretary of Defense under Bush and Obama, said that Biden has been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades.
He's had lots of practice.
And in Obama's latest, his third book about himself,
Oh, yeah.
Obama stated, "Never underestimate Joe's ability to fuck things up."
Yeah.
Now,
Quote,
he
unquote.
wrote that. That's a quote.
Yep.
Okay? That's the guy that was the president.
And that's the president that backed Joe Biden in his run and got Claiborne in South Carolina to back Joe Biden, or Clyburn. And
by the way, do you know the last death we had in Afghanistan prior to yesterday? It was on February 8th of a year and a half
2020.
ago. That's the same day that Biden won South Carolina.
Wow.
Isn't that weird stuff?
That's
that
just
happens in history?
that's just a coincidence.
The Atlantic goes on to ask, is there a unifying theory of why Biden is so consistently wrong on major foreign policy matters? Does he misunderstand something about the world or possess some set of instincts that don't serve him well? What the Biden foreign policy record shows is a man who behaves as if he knows much more than he does, who has far too much confidence in his own judgment in the face of contrary advice from experts. The author of The Atlantic says his hunch is that Biden overcompensates for an intellectual inferiority complex, which has manifested itself in his history of plagiarism, lying about his academic achievements, and other embellishments.
That's like Einstein's, thing about insanity.
Yeah.
Joe just repeats his basic core values, which have been proven to be wrong.
He's almost somebody you'd want to hire and have in a boardroom. Say, "What do you think, Joe?" And you just do the exact opposite.
Exactly.
I'm serious. That's a perfect indicator.
That's very valuable.
On national security matters, President Biden lacks some. This is again from The Atlantic. President Biden lacks some of the most important qualities needed in those who govern: discernment, wisdom, and prudence, the ability to anticipate unfolding events, the capacity to make the right decision based on incomplete information, and the willingness to adjust one's analysis in light of changing circumstances. This is again from The Atlantic. To put it in simple terms, Joe Biden has bad judgment. That's from his friends, PJ.
Yeah, at The Atlantic and everybody else. I mean, that whole cabal of progressives is enveloping. I had a discussion with a golf buddy the other day about Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals and what you need to do to overrun a capitalist economy. And folks, just Google it. It's SaulAlinsky, Saul Alinsky.
Yeah, and there's a list of them.
And Hillary Clinton did her master's thesis on this book of Rules for Radicals. And it's about how to just overthrow and overrun a capitalist democracy. And look at the list, folks. You'll be able to put a check mark next to everything they're doing.
Absolutely. Now, PJ, since, at its core, this is supposed to be a financial show, I just want to throw this out there, folks. If you're invested in the stock market, good for you. I hope you've done very well. You should have. And here's why. The price to earnings ratio on average throughout history in the stock market has been 16 to 1.
Okay.
So if In My Right Mind was a publicly traded company and we earned $1 a share, historically we would be trading at 16 times that, or $16 a share.
Okay.
All right. Right now we'd be trading at $34.70 a share.
Wow, that's why the rich get richer.
Yeah, but in other words, we are overvalued. The big stock market crash we had in 2000, in 2001 into
Right.
2002, the price to earnings ratio then was 44 to 1. So we're not there yet, but and just when I'm telling you folks that we are overvalued, that doesn't mean we can't get more overvalued. Okay, but here's another alarming indicator. 57% of all stocks are trading below their 50-day moving average. When a stock price drops below its 50-day moving average, it's called a death cross.
Okay.
Okay, so only 43% of stocks right now are trading above their 50-day moving averages.
All right.
Which means that our breadth with a D is narrowing. So there's fewer and fewer good stocks to pick from.
Right.
Here's a third indicator. For 3 quarters in a row, Warren Buffett sold into the market.
Okay, so
Net sales.
What's he doing? Metals and
I don't know what he's doing
I
with the
mean,
proceeds.
bonds are
Yeah.
making nothing.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing with the proceeds, but that's enough for me. So I don't just sell lock, stock, and
Because
barrel.
if you